do is a little bit of an overview of what it takes to garden. So let's just dive right into what your job as a gardener is. Uh, let's. I've broken it up into four different things here. Uh, your job is to give the plants these four things: sunlight, soil, water, and protection. And in the illustration, I also kind of have air located there as well because that can be important for keeping away the fungal stuff and diseases. But otherwise, this is just an overview. You can always come back to this as thinking about like as long as I'm giving my plants these things, uh, I'm doing my job. Now this next slide is an overview not of what you need to give the plants, but kind of what the whole year is going to look like as a gardener. So this is what you can expect to be doing. If you're just first starting to get into gardening, or if you've been doing it a long time, sometimes it's nice to just have an outline of what should I be doing at any given point in the year. In the winter, it's easy to be really excited for the year ahead, and yeah, you just are into planning and looking forward to what's to come, maybe putting together a grow plan and even mapping it out. And then in the spring, that's when you're just going to really set yourself up for success. Here in mid-Michigan, which is where these videos are being focused, you might even be able to prep the soil pretty early in the spring, especially if you're not tilling the soil with a rototiller or some kind of a tractor implement. But so as soon as you can work the soil and you don't have these big clods that you're working against, you can get out there, and that might be as early as March, but probably more likely April or sometime like that. And then in the summer, that's when it's okay to just be in maintenance mode. Once you've planted and have most of your crops in the ground, of course you can keep on planting certain things in the summer months. But besides that, you're really just kind of maintaining by getting things regularly watered, making sure that the weeds are kept at bay, trellising and pruning your fruity crops like tomatoes, peppers, and eggplant. Again, you want to keep them up off the ground so that they have good air circulation and aren't prone to diseases. And you're also trying to fight against those pests and diseases. And then in the fall, you're starting to wrap it up, and you're reaping the harvest, and you are maybe hopefully preserving some of that too, depending on the crops, maybe saving some seeds. And a really important thing to keep it in mind is that at the end of the year, you want to clean up your space. So that should always be built into your expectations and your schedule as well. Speaking of expectations, I wanted to put this slide in here too as an overview because it's really important to understand that that same dynamic I was kind of just alluding to is that in the spring it's really natural to be super excited about your weed-free beds and everything is beautiful and there's no bugs. But I just want to normalize for everyone watching that it is okay if you're gardening and you're a bit grumpier in the month of August. It's hot, there's bugs, there's weeds. Just know that that's normal and know that it's just kind of a part of the cycle of gardening, and that when September comes around, you're going to feel a lot better. So here are some recommended resources too, just another really general overview. There are 1,000 great books out there on gardening, but these are some of my top picks. So yeah, I just wanted to give them to you because I think that they're fantastic resources. Some of those top books are kind of good overviews and profiles, like the one on the farthest left, the New Vegetable Growers Handbook, will give in-depth profiles of lots of different vegetables and even some grains. And that Grow Fruit Naturally book, the third one there from the left, is similar, except it's focused on fruits. Weedless Gardening, fantastic overview on no-till systems, one of my favorite authors, and the same author for that Grow Fruit Naturally book. And then it can always be helpful to have a resource on hand for how to fight against those pests and diseases and how to be able to identify them in the first place. And then a couple more resources here on the bottom. In future videos, I'm going to talk a little bit more about drip irrigation and why that can be so helpful for gardeners. Drip irrigation is really nice because you can kind of just set it and forget it. It's a lot of work at the beginning of the season to lay into your beds, but once it's there, you're just getting a nice little drip of irrigation all throughout the summer. Saves gardeners a lot of work, And Dripworks is a great supplier for that, though there's a lot of other good companies you could go to as well. A great YouTube channel that I would highly, highly recommend is Robert Pavlis's YouTube channel, Garden Fundamentals. He's got hundreds of great videos and playlists that he's curated for beginning gardeners. I'd highly recommend you check that out. He's also got books and a website. And then last but not least, Nature and Nurture Seeds is a great Michigan seed company. They sell a lot of open pollinated varieties, which means that whatever vegetables you get from them, you can save the seed and grow it out yourself in future years. I want to encourage everybody, if you are just getting into gardening, or even if you've gardened for a year or two, just that you shouldn't give up, stick with it. Gardening is unlike other hobbies in that you get a feedback cycle that's more on an annual basis because it's hard to kind of course correct in the middle of a season. So that can be kind of challenging, unlike other things. But everybody makes mistakes when they're gardening. Even experienced growers are going to have something that dies in any given year, just because every year is different, the conditions are different. So don't think of gardening too mechanically, where if you make a mistake that you're somehow not good enough for gardening. Just know you can do it and you'll be great.